Hello. Now I would like to introduce you to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. IUCN is one of the world's leading union of conservation agencies, including more than 85 states, more than 100 governmental agencies, including more than 1,000 non-governmental organizations and more than 15 indigenous peoples organizations. The IUCN is one of the main players when it comes to promoting the priorities of the global conservation community. It is in fact the only environmental organization with an observer status at the United Nations General Assembly, enabling IUCN to deliver the policy perspectives of its members at a very high international level of diplomacy. These policies are developed through a unique open consultative process involving the full IUCN membership, the states and all the NGOs that participate, that are members of the IUCN. The IUCN has pushed forward and initiated very important conventions on nature conservation, some of which you may know, like the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, or the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, also known as the Ramsar Convention, or the Convention on Biological Diversity, and made many crucial contributions to the development of the UN Agenda 2030 and, of course, on the SDGs. The IUCN has its own project guidelines and standards. The project guidelines and standards are aimed primarily at managing the project cycle for field projects or projects which combine a field component with policy influencing, with knowledge generation or capacity building. The guidelines are a roadmap and let's say a toolkit for IUCN teams developing these projects for selecting, identifying, planning, implementing, monitoring and evaluation, and also the closing of IUCN projects. So the main purpose of the project guidelines is to ensure that the IUCN projects are well planned, well monitored and evaluated as a means to delivering against the IUCN program. So also IUCN has a results framework, a results program to which the single projects that are developed inside the IUCN by the IUCN different teams so that they can really deliver according to the predetermined IUCN results framework for the benefit of nature, people, and biodiversity. The process of approvals for projects is quite clear given this project management guideline of the IUCN. So projects will only be approved inside the IUCN if they follow the rules of the project management guidelines that IUCN has issued. Projects on the IUCN, they must comply with the IUCN environmental and social safeguards as well. This is all described in the project management toolkit in order to minimize the negative environmental and social impact. So IUCN goes even beyond the normal standard project management cycle and has also guidelines on environmental and social safeguards inside the project cycle management. Gender is, of course, a very important issue inside IUCN, as it is in the major big NGOs, and should be mainstreamed in the project design and also in all the field operations of the IUCN. The IUCN has basically three program areas: valuing and conserving nature, promoting and supporting effective and equitable governance of natural resources, deploying nature-based solutions to address societal challenges including climate change, food security, and economic and social development. The IUCN program embraces as well and assimilates the new momentum generated in 2015 by the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, as well as the Paris Agreements, and captures them in a program of work that exploits these IUCN strengths, taking advantage of the Union's knowledge to reach and to move agreements into concrete actions. With this program, the IUCN breaks away from past once widespread misconceptions that global challenges must each be addressed separately, and instead kind of recognizes that environmental, economic, and even political concerns often share direct and indirect drivers and can similarly benefit from common solutions. So this is basically, these three program areas is basically a pledge from IUCN for the necessity when intervening in the sector of international development, especially in the global south, of planning and designing integrated projects that take these complexities into account. The new IUCN program departs from the original one from 2013 until 2016 and integrates IUCN in the broader concept and aims of the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. For this, the IUCN new program has been designed with IUCN targets for 2020 tagged to the SDG targets that they support, with a view to demonstrating IUCN's alignment with the imperative to deliver on these new SDGs. It should be noted that many of the SDG targets have been designed to build on existing commitments made under multilateral environmental agreements and processes, including the 3 Rio Conventions. And therefore, in aligning to the SDG targets, IUCN will at the same time continue its contribution to the achievement of these pre-existing targets, in particular the HE biodiversity targets, whose initial endpoint of 2020 coincides with that of the IUCN program for 2017 and 2020. In its new program, the IUCN has implemented a results framework at the agency's wide level. They have 3 program areas like we have seen. The first program area is called Valuing and Conserving Nature. This area 1, has 3 goals which IUCN denominates global results. The first goal, or the first global result as IUCN likes to call them, is it states that the risk facing species and ecosystems is reduced. Global result 2 states that natural resource governance at all levels enables delivery of effective conservation and equitable social outcomes by integrating good governance principles and right-based approaches. Goal number 3 is about the recognition of societies. Societies recognize and enhance the ability of healthy and restored ecosystems to make effective contributions to meeting social challenges and climate change, food security, human health and well-being, and economic and social development. So it's about the awareness, the increase of awareness of societies about these topics of nature conservation. So we have 3 program areas in IUCN, and each of these program areas has 3 goals. So program area 1 has 3 goals. So this is the beginning of the results framework of the IUCN. Very much similar to the results framework of the CGRs that we have seen before. For each global result or goal, the IUCN determines that projects should strive for achieving specific intermediate outcomes, which they call sub-results. For the first global result, or for the first goal of the program area 1, called the risk-facing species and ecosystems is reduced, the first intermediate outcome, or sub-results 1.1 from IUCN, would be that, or they demand that credible and trusted knowledge for valuing and conserving biodiversity is available, utilized and effectively communicated. So it means that projects should have outputs that allow that credible and trusted knowledge for valuing and conserving biodiversity is available. So the projects that want to fit into this goal 1 of IUCN, they must strive for these intermediate outcomes. The second one will be effective implementation and enforcement of laws and policies for valuing and conserving biodiversity in nature is accelerated. So projects that submit for funds of the IUCN, they should also work on the enforcement of laws and policies. And the intermediate outcome 3 from goal 1 is that key drivers of biodiversity loss are addressed through application of conservation measures. Projects that strive for this goal 1, that fit into this framework of goal 1 of reducing the risks faced by species in ecosystems, they must have as intermediate outcomes these 3, they must be contributing to these 3 intermediate outcomes when it comes to designing their products and services. So they can fit into this frame of this results framework from the IUCN. The other global results, they follow the same structure. So we have a global result, and then we have the intermediate outcomes that IUCN sees as necessary for achieving this goal 2 of natural resource governance at all levels, enables delivery of effective conservation and equitable social outcomes by integrating good governance principles and rights-based approaches. So it's a goal about natural resource governance. And for that, several preconditions like these intermediate outcomes must be achieved for contributing to this goal 2 or global result, as IUCN likes to call it. The same can be seen for the program area 3 and for its goal result, global result 3 or goal 3 as you wish, which deals with society's recognition about the role of healthy ecosystems and the ecosystem services that this provide for human well-being and meeting social challenges. So here also you have then 3 preconditions, let's call them, or 3 intermediate outcomes that are necessary for achieving this long-term goal. So if you see the changes in perception of societies, 3 in this case. So as you see, everything fits a general project management logic when it comes to the results framework. So this here is at the institution's wide level, but it is the framework, the guidance for every single small project that the IUCN is having in any country. The goals and outcomes of IUCN's results framework also have targets, as you can see when reading their program 2017-2020, very much like we have seen in the CGRs. Also here, the given targets are written as implicit expressions, where you can also find the indicators chosen. So implicitly, they are also expressing the indicators. This is written like that because this is taken from a report, but when they deliver the proposals in more detail, the indicators, the baselines, and the targets, they are much more described. They are described in a much higher detail than here. So, but you can see here that they have indicators and targets for their sub-results, which are the intermediate outcomes, and for monitoring these intermediate outcomes that should then help to achieve the goal or the global result. So if we look at the first indicator of them, or the first target there, this is in fact a very known indicator of the IUCN. This is the IUCN red list of threatened species. So this is the indicator basically. And the target that they mean is that they want to complete global assessments regarding threatened species, of course, of 160,000 species, including reassessments to generate indicators. These are species indicators in this time frame for 2017 to 2020. Another indicator that they have implicitly there is that they also want that at least 75% of countries with national and regional red lists would be using the IUCN red list categories and criteria by 2020. So as you see, they have here 2 indicators. The first one is that they can complete at least 160,000 global assessments, and the other one is that at least 75% of the countries will be using the red lists of threatened species. So these are two indicators with two targets. The second indicator is also the known IUCN Red List of Ecosystems. And here the target is to ensure global assessments of risk of collapse of 25% of world's ecosystems according to an agreed global ecosystem. So they have the indicator, which is the IUCN Red List of Ecosystems, and they want to at least assess 25% of the world's ecosystems